Let's get back to this record level of immigration in May. It's a big issue for this country, especially in the major cities. I want to bring in Dai Le, the independent member for the seat of Fowler in Western Sydney, takes in Fairfield and Cabramatta. Good to talk to you again, Dai. I don't think I've caught up since your re-election, so you must be looking forward to Parliament getting back next week. Tell me, is high immigration a big issue for you, a big concern?
Look, absolutely. Look, high immigration is a big issue for our community. Even, first of all, to acknowledge our community is made up of migrants and refugees and have settled here for decades since the Second World War. And we welcome refugees and migrants. I'm myself of a refugee background.
Of course. Yeah.
But over the last decade, the settlement here, especially in southwest Sydney and in particular in Fowler, has really put a lot of pressure on infrastructure, obviously housing shortages, road infrastructure, public infrastructure, that has not really kept up with the pace of migration, and of course jobs as well and skill set. So it has put a lot of burden and pressure on our existing communities, and I think we need to really look at how, when we talk about migration, how do we ensure that migrants and refugees get resettled to succeed in life and to contribute back to Australia. So that's a very important part and pathway for settlement, I believe, that often we don't talk about, and we don't explore pathways and ways for migrants and refugees to settle successfully and to contribute back.
That's why I think it's really important to get your perspective on this, because, as you say, not only are you a refugee, an immigrant, but you represent an area that's jammed full of immigrants and refugees to this country. So in the old arguments of calling for lower immigration rates, saying that that's xenophobic, I mean, it's clearly not the case. But the issue here is how many people the country can adequately bring in and care for properly and looking after our economy. We have a housing crisis. Now, unemployment's ticked up again. It only puts pressure on other immigrants who are already here trying to get established. Yet Labor promised at the election they were going to bring immigration down, and they don't seem to be doing it.
Yeah, I seem to just read that to see that migration could increase, and I think that is on the shoulders of governments, both state and federal, to ensure that how the increase in migration doesn't really impact on, obviously, availability of housing, availability of jobs, and in areas like southwest Sydney and Fowler, where schools are really bursting at the seams with, population growth and resources for schools to really cater to provide a great learning environment for our young people. I mean, I've had meetings with P&Cs here this morning in the last few weeks, reaching out to me, talking about the demountables that are still across many of our schools here in southwest Sydney. So how do students learn? How can they learn in that environment? And if they don't learn, how will they be part of the workforce? And as you know, AI technology is playing an important part. And how do we prepare the young people to succeed in the future if governments of the day do not invest in the infrastructure? And if all they need is the numbers and the population growth, we need to really consider the whole holistic picture of population growth, not just bringing in people without providing them with opportunities to, be productive, be part of our society, and doesn't create tension that sometimes, migration can cause a lot of problems with increase in unemployment. They'll be laying a blame and pointing fingers at new migrants. That will be a problem that we will experience, and we have experienced in the past.
Just quickly, Dai, if you don't mind, will cost of living figure prominently in your agenda in Parliament next week? And there's been some relief in interest rates, but in other areas, very little.
Do you think there's been some relief? I think there has been, and there's been no movement there in interest rates, which means that people are still struggling. I have visited businesses who are still experiencing the double increase, triple increase in energy bills, in the supply chain. So I think the cost of living factor is still very much front and centre of the lives and the mums and dads here in southwestern Sydney in particular.
Thanks for joining us, Dai. I appreciate it. Dai Le there.